Welcome to Little Home Projects. In this video, I'm making a wood finish that both looks and feels great and has the added benefit of being food safe and kid safe. I'm making a wood finish to go on these cedar building blocks that I made in another video. If you want to see how I put these together, I'll put a link in the description below. Because these blocks are going to be for little kids, I wanted to make sure that I used a finish that would be non-toxic, would help protect the wood, and would look good all at the same time. The ingredients for this is a simple mix of beeswax and mineral oil. Rather than just using mineral oil, I'm going to use baby oil instead. They're almost the exact same thing, but the baby oil has added fragrances that I think will work well with the sweet smell of the beeswax. I'm sourcing the wax from a pure beeswax candle. I pulled out the wick and measured it up. This candle comes in at about 35 grams, or about 50 milliliters. Definitely shop around though when it comes to beeswax. I found it for as low as $20 a kilo at a candle supply store, and up to $100 a kilo at a trendy craft store. I only needed a small amount though, so this $4 candle will do the trick for me. You'll need a measuring cup to measure out your oil, and a container to melt the wax in. I also pulled out a set of disposable chopsticks. I'm going to use that to stir the wax as it's melting. Beeswax is surprisingly tough stuff. It melts a lot better and faster if you can cut it up into small pieces first. I'm going to try this small novelty cheese grater to start. The smaller the bits, the better it will melt. And when it's all melted, I'll be pouring it into this wide mouth mason jar. You'll want to use something with a wide mouth lid. This will make it a lot easier to use later on. I was really surprised at how solid the wax was. I quickly decided using this small grater was not a safe choice. So I switched to the full-size kitchen grater. I'll have to take special care in making sure I get this cleaned up properly before my wife finds it. Even still, shredding up this candle took significant effort. And when the chunk of wax I was using started to get too small, I didn't trust the grater anymore, so I switched to chopping the remaining piece with a knife. Take care with this part. The bits are still harder than they look, and it takes a good amount of force to cut them smaller. Remember, you don't have to cut them this small. It'll just take a little bit more time when it comes to melting. Here you can see the consistency of the shredded wax. It's really light and fluffy, and it'll melt nice and fast. I'm going to be using 175 milliliters of baby oil to my 50 milliliters of wax. That rounds to about 1/4 cup of solid wax to 3/4 cups of oil, which is a ratio of 1 to 3. Mix everything into the melting cup and we're ready to move to the stove. I'm using the double boiler method of heating. That means placing the melting cup into a pot of water that will be brought to a boil. The water keeps the wax from being exposed directly to the heating source, and it also spreads the heat around the entire cup. I didn't like the idea of putting the plastic cup directly in the bottom of the pot, so I threw a paper towel at the bottom so there'd be a bit of water space underneath. Once the water was boiling, I reduced the heat and let it simmer. It took about 15 minutes for the shredded wax to melt, and about an additional 5 minutes for the chunks to finish. I used the chopsticks to stir every few minutes until it was done. A word about safety though. Don't leave this unattended. You are heating up a flammable liquid, and if you forget about it, it could get too hot and start a fire. So do pay attention during this part. With everything melted and mixed together, we can take it off the stove and move it to our mason jar. I put down some paper just in case any drops spilled, but the mixture poured really easily and smells super soothing. Take a moment right now to wash your melting cup. I used really hot water and a lot of dish soap, and it took a couple washes before it was clean. With that, the wood finish is done. All we need to do now is let it cool. I let it sit on the counter for the evening, but you could throw it into the fridge if you wanted to use it sooner. The final result is this. It became solid and has the consistency of something like firm Vaseline. I'm going to move over to burning the names in my building blocks and then use this to finish up the wood. If you want to see how this finish goes on the wood, I'll post a link inside the description below when I post that video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more from Little Home Projects, please hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.